honey lemon soda. So I guess to give like a little bit of a roundabout of what this anime manga is about. It's pretty much about Ishimori, who is one of the awkward, quiet people that kind of don't show emotions too much or just overly quiet into themselves, so people call them stone. So she was bullied heavily, and now that she's in a new school, it's like she's trying to change herself so that she can be different, more open, have friends, and not have this stigma on her that she is a stone. It's a bit of a challenge for her. She has to go through a lot to overcome, as anybody else does when they're trying to change who they are, how they used to be. Miura is someone that helped her in a way just kind of like start her journey in that direction, so she admires him and looks up to him in the beginning portions of it, and he wants to help her. He kind of sees like helpless people, like helpless puppies, and he just kind of wants to help them out. Obviously, they end up falling in love with each other and having feelings, and it just goes from there. But their love story is, I would say, it's kind of a typical story, just the way it goes about a little bit differently. If you just want to watch a simple school life love story develop, it's not too dramatic. I think it's something that you would see in a day-to-day high school kid's life almost, with minor things that are kind of different here and there, particularly with Miura's family situation, which doesn't get looked into too deeply in this season, but I believe they do continue to a season 2. It delves a little bit more into his background, whereas right now we're more into her and her background because it is, you know, more on her. But we do get Miura's background with his parents and his living situation, even though at the moment we don't have that fully. We will get into it a little bit later on with him, and it will explain a little bit of how he is. I think he always had that of a nonchalant, cold personality, I would say, than really a warm one. I guess the way that like Ishimori compares him to honey lemon soda, where it's that sweet and bubbly personality, but like sparkly personality. Not necessarily meaning he's bubbly and happy. It's more that it's a fizzy personality that's also sweet, or goes sweet, pretty much. I've read this manga and it's cute. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite ones, but it's definitely a cute one that you can get into. The main character takes a little bit to like her, not because of what you're thinking. Not because she's this little quiet, meek child. She cries for every little thing. You know, ever since the anime came out and people would be like, oh, because she's full of emotions and that's why she's crying so much. She cries a little too much. Very teary-eyed, just babyish. Like, it's just too much for me to stand her sometimes. Overall, when she does do character development and progresses, she does cry less. She opens up more. I feel like the anime takes out a lot of her crying scenes. When you read the manga, she cries way more. But in the anime, they do remove, I think, a lot of the scenes, probably to make her a little bit more of a likable person. They're also drawn differently with emotions, I think, because Miura is given more personality in the anime than in the manga. In the manga, he's more stone face, almost always posing ready for a model-esque type photo. Definitely gets more emotions. Like, you see him smiling more emotions in the things that he's saying. Whereas in the manga, I guess you don't really get to see that or hear that, obviously, but just the way he's drawn, you would think he's more of a stone face type character than an emotional, expressive one. Now, when it comes down to realistically, would these two people actually go out together in a real life situation? I can see it. I can definitely see it. He definitely likes to save people, particularly girls, being bullied and such like that. But Ishimori, the way that she's different from other people is that she takes that and starts to want to grow and change from it because she doesn't want to be that person anymore. In a way, you start to like her because she wants to change, she wants to become different and have more of a welcoming, friendly personality. But she also has a lot of restrictions because she has, you know, a curfew and everyone else is like out karaokeing and hanging out after school, and she can't really do that to socialize, so she only has school time to do that. And she definitely has more of that strict upbringing. Regardless, she's always pushing herself, which is very admirable of her, to always do the tasks and do things that maybe other people don't want to do, but she does want to do them eventually and do them really well. Like being the class representative and taking charge of the festival activities and that. And the fact that she has grown the courage to address her bullies, to address other people, even Miura's ex-girlfriend that everyone was like, they were so close, they were so in love. Granted, they were. Things just don't work out because they were young. I believe if you're looking for something that's like cutesy, school life, doesn't have too much in the sense of drama and misunderstandings, Because the one thing about these two, they're quite mature for themselves when it comes to talking things out and getting those misunderstandings resolved. Nothing gets dragged on too long. Sometimes things take time to get closure from or to actually address because of how the awkward situation could potentially be. It's not a boring watch. It does move along. Things happen, does progress. She doesn't stay in a wallow state for too long. It's not a miserable one. I just feel like she can be a character a lot of people will not like. And it's sad, but it's just the fact of it is she cries too much and she could just be a little too much when it comes to certain things, almost being borderline stalkerish to Miura. Credits to him, he didn't have a problem with it. Found it to be cute of her. To each their own. I did notice they took out this one part of the anime that has to do with the teacher who falls in love with a student and then he has to leave that school to go to where Ishimori and Miura's are. They kind of took that chunk out. They just mention it and let it be, but there was a longer portion in the manga that addresses that situation where this teacher tries to get in the middle between Miura and Ishimori. And even to a point where like the teacher might have been trying to do the same thing to Ishimori and like save her and like be there for her, but Miura kind of steps in and prevents that from happening. Now that I think it was necessary to keep that in for the anime, no, it didn't really do any difference to keep it in or take it out. I guess the only difference it makes is that it would unite Miura with the teacher because they both have the same thing of wanting to save someone. The difference is that one is a teacher, one is a student, and obviously the teacher with the student is inappropriate and what Miura is to Ishimori is not inappropriate. They're the same age. Doesn't mean they might address it in season 2. I don't think they will. I think they're going to drop it. I think they're just going to make it that one situation that they mention and then the teacher will come up again and they'll just kind of keep it on the down low pretty much. I don't think it's something they want to emphasize too much for this anime. When it comes to taking things out, it's a good decision to make. In my opinion, I think Honey Lemon Soda anime isn't too bad to watch. It is a much better read than it is a watch. If they came out with season 2, I would watch it. So I wouldn't say it's the worst of the worst. Would I watch it again? Maybe, but it isn't something I'll be wanting to watch again and again. Anyone who saw the anime and read the manga, what are your opinions and do you agree or disagree with me?